It seemed like the dream life, a young couple newly married, moving into a tidy suburban home in Massachusetts with hope, love, and a bright future ahead. But behind the front door of that rented house, something far more sinister was brewing. On January 22nd, 2006, 27-year-old Rachel Entwistle and her 9-month-old daughter Lillian were discovered dead in their bedroom, victims of a father's betrayal. The man who promised protection would become the monster who destroyed everything. What drove a husband and father to murder his wife and baby? Stay with this story until the end. You'll question everything you thought you knew about family and trust. The Entwistle family and their move. Neil Entwistle was born in Nottinghamshire, England, in September 1978 and later studied at the University of York. He married an American woman, Rachel, in 2003, and together they moved to Hopkinton, Massachusetts in late 2005 after Rachel accepted a teaching job. To those around them, the Entwistles seemed like an upwardly mobile young family, the groomed husband, the supportive wife, and their newborn daughter, Lillian Rose. Everything appeared smooth on the surface. The family rented a house in Hopkinton only 10 days before the tragedy. Friends and neighbors described Neil as a quiet, polite man. Rachel, a caring mother and dedicated teacher. Their daughter Lillian was the light of their lives. Under that veneer of normality, however, debts, hidden online activities, and emotional stress were quietly growing. Neil reportedly invested in get-rich-quick ventures through internet schemes and had mounting financial pressure that he kept hidden from those closest to him.
I left in the morning. When I came back, I found them like that. They were both dead.
As the Entwistles settled into their home, the rhythm of domestic life masked deeper fractures. Bills piled up. The facade of ambition clutching success began to crack under the weight of Neil's failing ventures and Rachel's career pressures. Few could see it then, but the picture-perfect family was a facade, and the cracks would soon split open into tragic catastrophe. The tragedy unfolds. On the morning of January 22nd, 2006, friends and family could not reach Rachel or baby Lillian. When police entered the rental home in Hopkinton, they found Rachel shot in the head and 9-month-old Lillian shot in the abdomen, cradled in her mother's arms. The father, Neil, was nowhere to be found. Instead, he was already on a one-way ticket to London, having fled just hours after the murders. The image of a husband abandoning the scene of crime of his own family stunned the community. Autopsy reports confirmed the bullet wounds and established the dead bodies as murder victims. In the hours following the discovery, investigators uncovered that Neil had purchased the one-way ticket early that morning, and the path of his escape began to raise red flags. His explanation that he had returned home to find them dead and decided to kill himself but lacked nerve collapsed under scrutiny. Details of his digital life leaked out. Searches on how to kill people, escort websites, and financial desperation. The crime scene itself was telling. Rachel and Lillian lay side by side, hidden under a comforter. Gun evidence, with Rachel shot in the head and Lillian in the stomach, pointed to a deliberate, calculated act of destruction rather than impulsive violence. The father who should have brought comfort instead brought death. The fear that someone so close could hide such darkness rippled through community and country alike. Investigation, evidence, and arrest. The investigation into the Entwistle case mobilized across continents. British and American authorities worked together after tracing Neil to his parents' home in Worksop, Nottinghamshire. Evidence included a notebook, internet search history pointing to homicidal desires, and DNA linking Neil to the handgun owned by his father-in-law. Investigators found a set of keys to his in-laws' home in his car parked at Boston's Logan Airport. The trail of deceit was long. Digital footprints revealed that days before the murders, Neil had browsed websites on violence, pornography, and murder methods. Financial records showed tens of thousands of dollars in debt and promises of quick riches that never materialized. Combined with his abrupt flight to the UK, this painted a portrait of a man at the edge. The prosecution built a case of motive: debt, failed ambition, emotional breakdown, and the ultimate act of control ending the life of his wife and child. Neil eventually faced extradition and trial. While his defense highlighted mental distress and relationship problems, the weight of the evidence fell on his calculated betrayal. The crime scene, the chronological sequence of events, the digital and financial clues all pointed to intention, not accident.
Got her little girl, and then she took her own life.
The man who vowed to cherish his family had destroyed them instead. The trial and sentencing. In 2008, after extended legal proceedings, Neil Entwistle was found guilty of first-degree murder for the deaths of his wife Rachel and daughter Lillian.
Rachel's family were overcome. Neil's family, it hit them hard. The jury, they were shaken, and a lot of them were young.
The jury deliberated and returned a verdict recognizing the severity of his actions and the ultimate betrayal he committed. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders, plus extra time for firearms charges and possession of ammunition. The judge described the murders as premeditated and horrific. He concluded that Neil had orchestrated the crime, fled the scene, and attempted to flee justice. The court rejected the notion that he discovered the bodies, panicked, and then fled. Instead, it concluded that he executed deliberate violence and then tried to escape. Emotional testimony from Rachel's family and the revelation of Neil's hidden online life added weight to the prosecution's narrative of deception and cold execution. Public reaction was intense. The media called the case the perfect family that turned into a nightmare. Crime analysts pointed to the role of digital footprints and hidden debts in the unraveling of domestic facades. For many, the Entwistle case became emblematic of how modern pressures, financial, digital, relationship, can converge into tragedy when left unchecked. Legacy and reflection. The murder of Rachel and Lillian Entwistle shook long-held beliefs about family safety and the reliability of domestic facades. The idea that a husband could so thoroughly hide his intentions, maintaining appearances, relocating continents, slipping through legal cracks, led professionals in psychology, law enforcement, and social work to ask hard questions. What signs of hidden toxicity had been invisible? How many families live under stress no one sees? The Entwistle case triggered new training protocols on early warning signs of familial violence and emphasized the importance of digital age vulnerability. In media and culture, the case inspired books, documentaries, and podcasts examining the anatomy of marital deception, hidden financial collapse, and killer ambition under the guise of fatherhood. Researchers drilled into the triple layers of financial desperation, narcissistic personality traits, and premeditated violence that Neil exhibited. The Entwistle case became a case study on how white-collar hope can hide deep blue-collar rage when the cracks deepen. For the victims, Rachel and little Lillian, the legacy is both tragic and guiding. Their names live on in remembrance by family, activists, and community programs that focus on domestic violence and early detection of familial risk. Their story reminds us that evil often hides behind domestic normality, and that vigilance is required even in the calmest of homes. More than 2 decades later, the question still reverberates. How could this happen? And what must we change so it never happens again? Conclusion. The Entwistle murders are a stark reminder that a picture-perfect life can mask the darkest of secrets. A wife and baby slain in a rented house while the husband flees across continents. It broke trust, it broke hearts, and it broke the myth that domestic life is automatically safe. It demanded that we look deeper, into finances, into digital footprints, into behaviors that whisper help when no one listens. Today, the case remains etched in the annals of true crime, not just for its horror, but for what it teaches us. It teaches that appearances can deceive. It teaches that ambition, pressure, debt, and isolation can fuse into lethal intent. It teaches that silence is the accomplice of betrayal. Rachel and Lillian's lives were short, but their legacy is long, and their story will never be forgotten. If you found this story as shocking and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real crime stories that uncover the hidden darkness behind ordinary lives.